Well, good morning, everybody. May 8th, 2025, regular board meeting agenda, the Magna Water District, 8885 West, 3500 South, our general office building. Before I call the meeting to order, I would like to recognize everybody on this diocese table this morning. We got Trevor Andre, Dallas Henline, Steve Clark, Andrew Sumption, Jeff White, myself, Mick Sudbury, Danny Stewart, Mandy Whitmore. I kept believing that Nathan Bracken, and oh, there you go. And helping us with this meeting is Clint Dilly. So I'd like to call the meeting to order, and we all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance with me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Sorry, man. That's like... Welcome, public and guests. Does anybody here today would like to address the board? See nobody. Does anybody have a conflict of interest with anything on our agenda today? Okay, moving right along. Okay, how about approval of common consent items, Danny?
Okay, minutes of the regular board meeting held April 10th, 2025. Minutes of the board workshop meeting held April 29th, 2025. General expenses from April 2nd to April 30th, 2025. General expenses, $1,631,801.85. Zions Bank bond payment, $83,530.83.
I'll second it.
It's been motion second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Let's move on to item G. Who's going to take?
I will.
Okay.
Gene Stott, he just passed his wastewater collections grade 1. We're excited that he's been willing to do that. It's allowed him to be able to go on call on the construction crew so that we can continue to run all weekend long.
And I gave him a call, so
So we really appreciate your efforts, Gene, and willingness to be on call for us. It does serve the district and the people of Magna very well. Thank you.
I seen him down on Main Street working.
you did. You didn't stop and bother him, did you?
No.
Okay.
I'll
give me
just
the
say all
finger.
reports I get about Gene are that he's hardworking. He likes to talk trash. No, he's real vocal, as you can tell, which is good.
Well, we like that.
He fits in well out here, and we appreciate
So
you.
you mean
Thanks
he's-
for working so hard.
He's taking Raymond's spot.
Yeah. He can't take a joke, dude.
And then next we've got Chris Thompson. He was recently promoted to be the construction crew lead. As we went through this process, I think we were all excited about how Chris has embraced the Magna Water District culture, how much he's helped build the morale and the team there on the construction crew, and we're excited to have him as a leader.
Yeah, I think just in the couple of weeks that he's had the job, it's exciting to see the direction he's already kind of taken things, so it's going to be good.
Awesome. And just from the board, if there's anything that we can do, go through the proper channels, and we'll do whatever we can do to help. We just want to keep moving forward.
Yeah, I appreciate his willingness to offer up suggestions, and I think just the attitude says a lot. Lead by example, and I think Chris is going to be real good on that crew.
Fantastic.
Thank you. Both.
It'll get better. We'll have weeks and our lows and our highs, right?
Thanks, guys.
See you guys.
Okay, moving on. Let's go to our general manager's report.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. Just want to highlight a couple things. In the front office, just to make sure all the board's aware that position has been filled. We're excited to have Katie Hellings start on May
19th.
19th, that's right. So we're looking forward to that and take off some of the pressure on the other two. that
And she does have associate degree.
Yeah, she should be really good. We're excited to have her.
Out of 130 people.
Water, yeah, 175 applicants
Yep.
or something like that in a week.
In a week, we had to close it because we were getting overwhelmed.
A while back ago, we couldn't get anybody.
Yeah, we're real pleased to see that. That was exciting. Wish we had that problem on the operations crew.
Yeah,
But we have some candidates that we're looking to fill 2 spots. I think the one at a time has been working well, though. We got Dawson hired, and he's been great so
Awesome.
far.
No complaints there.
Yeah, so hopefully we can find another couple like him, and we'll be moving forward. They've had some interviews, and I've got a few more scheduled.
yeah, we had one just the other day, and then we've got 2 on Tuesday next week, Tuesday morning, and then we'll hopefully have some candidates to present.
Then the interviews are ongoing for the staff engineer position. That one's also been difficult to fill. I know they had another interview recently. It wasn't real impressed at this time with that candidate, so we'll continue is what.
So we able to do what we said we want to do with the engineer?
We haven't had any progress on that yet.
Okay.
We can talk about that in the collective
Okay, okay.
collective bargaining and close. So on the water operations, Trevor and Steve have worked to develop a list of projects to be included on the UWIP. That's the Unified Water Infrastructure Plan, which is the state, that's gonna be the new main funding agencies that's gonna take in all the projects, water projects in the state, and they're gonna have some criteria and rank them, and then they're gonna decide who gets money for funding. So we thought it was important to go through that exercise. I talked with some of the other general managers this week about that. They've all taken different approaches. So I think some of them aren't pursuing that at this time, they're holding off. Some of them are putting every single project they have ever thought of on it. I think we're in the middle of the road where we're putting on projects we actually feel like we're planning on doing. It's just a little further out, maybe to the 20-year timeline, so some pretty big costs. But I think that we're all nervous if we're not on that list, they might not consider us for any
Right,
funding.
I agree.
So I appreciate the effort they put on getting that developed. And that's been done as of today, right?
Correct.
Yeah, so.
Good job.
The leasing agreement was signed on those 200 shares to benefit the Great Salt Lake on the canal.
Oh, okay.
How
We
many
got that
shares
done.
do we own?
320 something,
And how many are we leasing?
200.
Okay.
So a good chunk, about just under 2/3.
It's nice.
It'd give us like around 30-something thousand in revenue. Nice. That we can put back into the secondary system. That's
Great.
And leave us some ability to use some if we need some for peaking this summer.
Okay.
I think I wanted to highlight on the wastewater side, Dallas and Trevor are looking at, now that we've formally closed the dump, RV dump, some modifications to the site to best use it. There's some options there. Wouldn't mind feedback from the board, but the cheapest option would be to just take down all of the RV-related improvements. Next option would be to do something with the gate or fencing, whether we take that down, and then landscape along that frontage. Probably the most expensive option would be to redo the site fencing and incorporate that into the yard. So,
Can we use that fencing anywhere else? Because I know I was on the board when that got put up and there was a lot of cost to that fencing.
Certainly, the gates could be repurposed.
if we found a location that needed them.
I would be
Just do asphalt to keep the dust down as they drive by 100 miles an hour.
You need sprayers for that down there.
I think the plan was to come up with some cost estimates for you, so we don't need to, unless you have strong
So
feelings.
that dump will never, if we're doing this, it's never gonna open. I mean, so are we sure that we wanna do this?
We can always hold on.
I'm just asking you guys, are you sure we want to do this? I mean, I know,
I
Great.
think from a staff side, I think so,
okay.
but I think from the communities,
Well, I haven't nobody reached out to me and complained about it, so have you had anybody reach out to you?
No. And I think if I made a suggestion, it would be to put a separate containment in the future. If we were gonna do that, put a separate containment so that we can isolate. Because the cost of the vulnerability to our ditch is way more important than what it would cost if we had to add a secondary and a transfer just to eliminate, so.
I feel the problems we've had with it before, leave it shut down. And I mean, I'm a user of that dump. And I feel leave it, because the problems we've had with it, do away with it.
I'll just mention to the board, I'm only aware of one complaint this year. I've talked to a gentleman that was disappointed that it was not open, but that's been one.
Yeah,
I've talked
So it's
to,
definitely decreased.
I talked to two and told them what our problems was, and they agreed 100%.
everybody understands. That was last year, and everybody understands when I tell them the vulnerability.
And it's a real big safety risk down there too. I mean, and the only way you could even do it, if we decide to keep it, to make it not safety, is go down that one side so people have to pull over right off the road. And I can't believe the traffic that's down that road.
Yeah, it's got terrible down there.
Okay, I support what you guys, whatever you guys think that we need to do, we can move for it. And
Okay, we'll bring back some options then. The Salt Lake SL rat, they're not the Salt Lake rats, the SL rat inspections were completed with the collections staff, and they're reviewing the findings now, and they'll be presenting the results of that sometime next month, or
Potentially.
potentially next month. And then they're working on the root control right now. I know Jeff had some questions last time, I believe, on root control. I think we were waiting on Dallas. If you have any, I'm trying to remember.
We were just asking when a person has roots and they're coming down into our system.
That's right.
Do we have to inspect it and then give them a reference of what they can buy and put down their system? Because I know Steve, I haven't had a problem, but I notice a lot of people have trees and they don't even think about those roots going into their sewer system, and eventually it'll end up down.
So in
That's
that,
the problem.
if I'm hearing you right, in the areas where we're having problems, we just wanna make sure we're communicating that there are routes to the customers.
They're their roots.
And
give
there's
them
some options for them.
Yeah, and give them some chemicals that they can put in. I remember Steve told me some things to try. Man, it worked really good. Yeah, it worked really good.
If we do an inspection and a customer's lateral shows signs of roots, then we'll print out a picture of their lateral and give it to them. But we haven't made product recommendations. That's something we can look into.
I would, because you don't want them to get something, the stuff that I think Steve told me about, you get at Steve Regan Company.
Was it the Fireball stuff?
I don't remember. I don't remember even if it was a powder, you mix it with water and dump it down. I don't remember.
Yeah, they might think, oh, I have to have Roto-Rooter.
Yeah, that's what I worry about, yeah. Because it looks like clicking into a cobweb. And the stuff that Steve told me, it was real easy and it knocked it out within, I think, a couple weeks. You only have to put it down 3 times and it just knocks them out.
I think that's a good idea. You can do that. Okay, on the front office, just wanted to highlight, if you haven't heard, on the union bill, it sounds like the lieutenant governor has issued a stay, so that won't go into effect because it looks like the signatures will be successful.
And then they'll put it on the ballot, right?
And it'll be on the ballot in 2026, I understand.
Yeah, so the referendum satisfied the required statutory requirements. They got a sufficient number of signatures, and then they got the right percentages in the number of Senate districts. And so because of that, the Lieutenant Governor's office issued a stay, I think yesterday. So the bill won't go into effect, and then it will be, I think it is the 2026 election when it'll be put to a vote by the voters. So at least until then, things will be as they've historically been.
But there's no way they can't put it on the ballot, right? It's gonna go on the ballot no matter what. I
Oh, yeah,
mean,
no, it's qualified for the
Okay,
ballot.
okay.
It has to go on the ballot now, and that's what the
Okay.
process will be. So what that means is that the law won't go into effect, well, would have gone into effect yesterday. It hasn't, and that's why the Lieutenant Governor's issued her stay. And we're kind of in a holding pattern to see what will happen with the vote. I mean, if the vote passes, then of course the law goes away, and of course the legislature can come back with something different. Of course, if the vote fails, then the law would go into effect in the future.
So some people call me, are they gonna make any changes when it goes on the ballot, or is it gonna stay the way that it was presented to the legislature?
What do you mean, the bill?
Yeah,
Well, the bill is on the ballot. So the law that they passed is what is subject to the referendum. Now, in the next legislative session, the legislature could come up with something else, of course.
Oh.
But, so there is a fair amount of uncertainty about what will happen. But my guess is that everyone will just need to see what happens with the vote.
Right.
Because if I were a legislator, I'd be like, well, it's subject to referendum. I don't want to run another bill that's going to be subject to the same referendum. Let's see what happens with this one.
well, they
If
were
the
just calling saying, what about it? And I'm going, well, you need to read what the legislature had.
Or are they asking about what the legislation
What's the
does?
content? Yeah, exactly.
Oh, so what
They
the,
want to get a heads up before it shows up on the voting time.
so the gist of the legislation, what it says is that,
No, I'm saying, where can they read it at? Can they look up?
yeah, they can go to the
The
legislature's website.
That's what I told them.
Pull it up there. I think it's is it HB 268,
267?
267? Yeah. One off.
257?
67.
And it is sponsored by Representative Tusher, Teuscher. And I'm sure if you went to any of the union websites, they probably have it on there too.
I wasn't going to attempt to try to explain the whole thing to them.
But I mean, the gist of the bill is it prevents public employers like you from having a union act as a collective bargaining agent for its members. There are other provisions to it, but that's the most impactful.
Okay. Anything else on that?
Nope.
All right, wanted to highlight on communication and morale. I think that, want to pull up a picture here of Steve had some of his guys. We were asked to participate in Lake Ridge Career Day, and Steve had a good idea for the vehicles to bring over some of the equipment. And I'll let Steve tell you. Look at those two having fun up front. This is at the Lake Ridge with the kids, and we got our Mini X and our skid steer.
Yeah, so it was kind of funny. I don't know who enjoyed it more, the guys or the kids, but what it was they just had different agencies, like the cops and stuff were there, just kind of give an example of what they do throughout the day for the kids. And what would happen is the kids would come out one class at a time, and right out in front of the school, they had a big semi-trailer that had ice cream in it. They'd go get their ice cream, and these guys were on the far end of the parking lot. They'd see the equipment at the far end of the parking lot, run past all the cops and everything, right past them, and head straight to the equipment, and pretty much would just hang out there till the teachers kicked them out and told them, all right, we gotta go look at the other stuff now. So, yeah, they all seem to enjoy it, so.
And it probably would be kind of cool too if we could give out something for like when the kids come, a little
That's a
pin.
good idea,
A
yeah.
little pin or something, just something.
I think if we can get something in development, so if we have an opportunity, we have it ready to go.
Or give out a candy bar that says Magna Water on it, or, you can do them
Yeah,
logos
we
for,
can do that.
Even like little stickers,
yeah.
something,
Well, a couple of weeks ago, I found out Caleb, the owner of Twilla Valley Pumping, I guess we work with him. He does some things for us, or does things for the Twilla sewer plant.
Oh, okay.
And refreshes their bugs or something, gets some bugs from us and gives them. Anyway, he was saying how they bring some young people out there and had them learn how to run a skid steer and a mini X.
Wow.
He said it was just a small group at a time, like 4 or 5 kids at a time, he said. It was very successful, so.
That's neat.
We're recruiting in
Yeah,
first
we were
grade.
saying, maybe we need to
These
turn it into a development program,
Well, these were 12 and 13-year-old kids, so.
I said it looked like they were rock stars out there, our guys, and tell them what you said to me.
Do what now? Sorry.
I told them it looked like our guys' crew was rock stars. These
Yeah,
kids.
with the glasses and.
Oh, about the signature?
Yeah.
Yeah, Gavin, when I was there, I showed up to take the pictures, and I caught the perfect picture right at the right time, but Gavin, some little girl ran up to him with a little book and asked him, "Will you sign this?" And right as he looked up at me, I'm taking the picture, he's looking like, "Should I be doing this?"
You guys, remember, if you would have handed out candy bars with our name on it, I guarantee you, those kids will remember that event.
Yeah. That's a great idea.
Remember them.
Definitely. But I think that's positive to continue to.
Or even something like something that they use in school.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Pencil.
Yeah, or just a little, I don't know.
I think that was nice, Steve.
Yeah, that's exciting.
Good job.
Then we got a week. Dallas has got an idea on a time frame for an open house or a tour with stakeholders. Is kind of what we've evolved into for the reuse project. Would you want to
Sure.
throw out some dates, see if that
So,
would work?
we just wanted to get some direction from the board. We thought, you'd have an idea of who you'd want to come out to see the reuse facility. We're looking at the week of June 23rd. And, there's Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday as options. We think a 10 a.m. start time kind of keeps us out of the hot weather. We thought maybe we could provide some refreshments, maybe a drink cooler. We could have the stakeholders meet at 10 o'clock. We'd talk about the facility, we'd let them walk through it a little bit, have a drink, and just, that's kind of our thoughts, but we would like some direction.
What about a drink and a burger?
We thought about that. There's a little bit of a safety concern with eating right outside of the sewer plant, especially if the dust picks up. It's certainly an option. Nothing set in stone yet. Like I said, we wanted some feedback. The staff doesn't eat outside of the sewer plant. We can move it indoors depending on the size of the crowd or the size of the tour.
So, I just want to report, I'm excited about the whole reuse thing. I think it's just fantastic, but some people aren't as excited. I'm going to tell you straight out.
Okay.
People that do not receive that yet aren't as excited about it. And so I told them we're working in that direction, but if it wouldn't have been for the grants and stuff, we've made leaps and bounds of progress on the reuse.
Sure.
And I just told them, but they just don't get the same excitement
Yeah,
that I've got. So I don't know how to calm that down. I just tell them, we're getting there, but we've made leaps and bounds, and with the grant we got and everything, we've really done well. And it's gonna salvage, give us more water capacity.
Yeah.
But they don't seem to get the excitement because it's not at their house.
Right. That's hard for people to understand.
Everybody I talk to really enjoy it. I mean, they're really.
Yeah, I'm just talking about the people that
it's-
don't enjoy
get
it.
it.
Yeah, I know.
They don't get the benefit.
So
That is a difficult message to give.
Well, a lot of people don't want us doing the reuse. They want us to ship it down to the Great Salt Lake.
It's too bad.
And,
So I think what would help us, Mr. Chairman, is if the board could look at their calendars and settle on a date, and then maybe we could discuss.
what's the 23rd? Is that-
The 23rd is a Monday.
Okay,
It'd be
because
better
you got
for
that-
us, like-
You got that following week, the 4th of July.
No, this is
No.
June.
June, okay.
June,
No, I
yeah.
know, but coming 2 weeks after that, okay, yeah, that'll work.
We could do Tuesday the 24th, Wednesday the 25th, Thursday the 26th.
Which day's easiest for you guys?
Any day.
Wednesday or Thursday would be fine.
Wednesday in the middle of the week would probably be the best, I think. I think I gotta just have drinks down there for them.
Sure.
I really do.
We've got the engineering team from Bowen and Collins, they've volunteered to help with, you know, whatever we decide to do, if it's a canopy or, just being on.
If we're gonna do it, we need to do it nice.
Sure.
Go well.
Do it nice.
Yeah.
Maybe what we do is we meet
Yes.
afterwards in the admin building and have some refreshments there.
Sure.
We could give them drinks to walk through with, and then maybe we meet.
What I've seen them do in some other sites is like you'd bring them in the admin building if you want to have a hot dog or something and a drink, and then discuss what they're gonna see, and then go out.
Yeah, we've
Then that way you don't have food or anything out in the facility. It's just an idea.
Yeah, that's,
I like that.
we've seen
That'd be
that
good
before.
too.
Could do that.
Then you're telling what they're seeing, because you may not be able to hear that good when you're outdoors.
Yeah, we can definitely take that approach, more of a tour approach,
Sure.
rather than an open house, I think. Well, let's, plan that direction then, and we'll come up with some
Hard-
details and.
Hard details and send them over.
I got some boys that wanna come down and view the facility, but they can only come at about 6 o'clock at night, so.
Okay.
They don't have.
And we can accommodate, we should be set up to accommodate that as soon as we get done with this.
Sure.
I think we'll have everything in place.
So when we're talking about invites, who are we inviting?
I think that's also what we have probably the community leaders that would have interest, in city council, I would think, and maybe the planning commission. We would probably want to invite some of the or the regulators
Sure.
that have helped and highlight their support on the project.
Or if there were constituents from Jordan Valley, you might
Well, I
want to
think it'd be
invite
good to reach out to them, and then anybody else here that wants to come join or invited, that would like to come see it.
And I might suggest maybe a middle of the day and maybe an afternoon for some people that are working, because there is some people at Jordan Valley that
They'll
might
come
be
out,
interested to come that way.
they'll come out, take their lunch and come out, so.
Yeah, maybe we do a morning session, this summer, and maybe we could do something later in the fall, potentially.
I think your,
Try to hit it differently.
I think your stakeholders in the middle of the day is way important. That's probably the main one that you concentrate on. I think that's a good idea.
Okay.
Okay. Anything else on that?
Nope.
All right, I think that's all I wanted to highlight, unless the board had anything else they wanted to address.
And I thought that party for Raymond was good.
I'm sure he probably reached out to you.
Yeah, he
but
did.
He did pass along that he felt really appreciated, and it meant a lot to him that we did that for him.
Yeah, he enjoyed it.
So we appreciate the board's support in doing that.
Okay, Mandy, oh, no, it's not you, it's the engineering report next, sorry.
Thank you, Board and Chair. So a quick update on engineering projects. So we've got our 7200 West, 3100 South Secondary. We've got some decisions of how to cross some intersections. So there's some potholing that we want to do. There's a lot of utilities in a couple areas, 8,000. But that is 90% complete, moving well. The influent pump station, moving along. We've got a building permit. I'll just do a quick couple pictures here. This is overhead of the site out there. You can see we've got 2 main excavations, our grit building and our pump station over here. And there's concrete now and rebar, so that's exciting, starting to come up. So just wanted to give a quick update on that one. Haynes Well number 8, that is the one we have a grant for. We've been working with the EPA. We've received review comments back, addressing those, gonna get those turned in fairly soon. I got high expectations that will be, yeah, so kind of the process is you go through and make sure everything's in place and then you apply. The money is set aside for us, but the application should be happening soon. And then it's pretty much just move forward with the project, so that's exciting. Haynes Well number 7 rehab, we had that bid out and it closed this week on the 5th. We got a good bid from Whittison, who does great work, did our Haynes number 2 well, similar process. So I'll be bringing that bid recommendation next month for that project. Our West Side Collection 1B project, all that open trench is done. They've tested it, everything's good. They'll be looking to pave that soon. We've got all that sorted out with the MSD in the city, so paving will be happening. There is a conflict in the middle, dead center of 201. UDOT has fiber optics that's theirs that goes from like signals down the road. It is 17 feet deep.
Oh my God, what did they go that deep for?
So
That's what we're all trying to figure out.
we're scratching our heads. It was identified. We had multiple rounds of reviews, but with UDOT through the design process, permitting, all of that. So now we're kind of at a delay of. We've got a meeting with UDOT today to discuss.
This is where casing's
Options.
going through.
Correct.
Are we at 17 feet too?
We are. It's about 6 inches into the bottom of what our casing is.
We can't change.
Yeah, so I expect, we're having conversations with UDOT, with our contractor, with the boring company, ongoing, so that'll be progressing, but I do anticipate some kind of cost increase because of this.
Some people ask me, and does all our effluent go over to 7,600 before it goes down to sewage treatment plant? Does all the west side sewer?
Yeah,
So this is gonna take a lot of pressure off that line going east
correct.
to 7,600 before it goes under
Yep.
21st.
Yep.
That should really
Yeah.
incredibly release the pressure off that eastbound. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, I just told them it's monumental, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's gonna be a big deal. So,
They're just wondering, there's, the comment came up that, boy, that's sure a lot of work down 8,000 for just a sewer line. going
just a
down,
sewer line.
Yeah. Resurfacing the whole,
Yeah, about half the pavement.
going north on 201.
It'll be a pretty nice road. But anyways, just wanted to give you a heads up on that one. And then, we're just continuing design of that phase 2 of that west side that goes from 8,000 to 84 along the east-west. And that is all I have on the engineering report. If there's any other questions or comments? Okay, thank you.
Good.
Okay, let's go to the water report.
Okay, thank you, Board and Chair. So the culinary water production for the month of April has been estimated as 116.25 million gallons, or 356.79 acre feet. That's a 13.95% increase from 2024. Year-to-date, based on the estimated production for April, was 413.28 million gallons, or 1,268.42 acre feet, and that's an 11.67% increase from 2024. The reason April is an estimate is because there's problem with the flow meter at Haynes. Last fall, we had an issue with number 9, and by the time we got it all put back together, we weren't able to run it through the winter. So when we fired it up to get everything going for the spring, we noticed some discrepancies in the numbers, and so they started digging into it a little bit, trying to figure out if it was the pump or the motor or what was the actual cause, and it ended up being the flow meter, so that's on the agenda to get changed. But as far as these numbers go, we're fairly confident they're accurate, because we compared them to what was coming into the plant, so they should be fairly
Let's go
close.
back up.
Yeah, and Matt's in the process right now of getting that meter taken care of, so. As far as call-outs go, there were 16 call-outs. All of them were on the water side for a total of 57 hours. We had 1 main line leak, 3 service line leaks, and then 12 miscellaneous calls. One other thing that I was gonna point out is the House bill that required us to disconnect the fluoride system. That's all been taken care of as of yesterday, so if you get questions from the public, that's all done.
Okay.
So, and then you can direct them to their dentist or the pharmacy to
To get their pills.
get their pills. Yep, exactly, so. Other than that, that's all I had, unless you have any questions.
Nope, you have any, Jeff?
No, it was kind of funny because people were asking about that fluoride. And I said, well, did you realize that even when you brush with toothpaste that has fluoride in it, you're not supposed to swallow it, you're supposed to spit it out? They're going, it must be pretty bad then. I said, yeah, we're following, we're following the guidelines. So.
I know as far as operators go, we're happy to see it go, so. It's
No,
bad
yeah,
stuff.
it's a mess.
Yeah,
Very
definitely.
corrosive.
Okay, let's move on to wastewater, Dallas.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chair. On the wastewater collections crew, just as a heads up, we kind of talked about it before. The collection staff has been coordinating that road resurfacing with Staker Parsons in the county, UDOT. That's 2820 south and 6400 west to Mountain View corridor. So you may see them out there. They're adjusting heights on our manholes and some of our utilities. So we're also working to put together the list of spot repairs and manhole-to-manhole slip lines, just as part of our annual rehabilitation project. We're just putting those numbers together now. I'll probably bring that quote within the next month or two. On the wastewater treatment side, just a regulatory update. We've finished all the samples that we need to renew our waste certificate with ET, where we dump our solids. That's due in June. I'll probably get that submitted within the next week or so. And then April marked the first month where we're reporting on the new reuse permit. All the regulatory samples were well within permit. The equipment is operating reliably, consistently. We've been pretty happy with it. Just to give the board an idea, in the month of April, the treatment plant treated 87,431,000 gallons of raw sewage. And of that, 15,590,000 gallons were redistributed back into the irrigation system. So about 18% of plant flow we're able to reuse.
Wow.
As the irrigation demand increases, the amount that we send will increase. So we did some projections prior to the irrigation season starting. We projected to use about 100,000 gallons in April. We used closer to 500,000 gallons. In May, we projected 600,000 gallons, and right now we're using closer to 800,000. So the demand is a little higher than what we projected, which is good for us. And then we discussed the potential dates for the reuse open house and the modifications to the RV dump. So if there's no questions, that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, you have any questions?
No, I think that's it.
Okay. Thanks, Dallas. Okay, let's move on to Mandy.
Okay, thank you.
I got that right.
No, thank you. So the compliance report, the quarterly budget to actual report for the first quarter will be presented to the board today. and then the quarterly expenditures and revenues is uploaded to the transparency website, was completed on 4/27. The annual entity registration requirement was completed and paid for, that's $25 a year. And the payroll for the first quarter, the tax reports were filed on 4/27. And the GRAMA annual certification for the records office will be completed next week, so everything's in compliance at this time.
Awesome.
And then for the financial statements, we'll have for the first 3 months of 2025, the first quarter, the total revenue is at $3,396,738, and the total expenses is at $3,962,090. That's an overall loss of $565,352. With that loss, it's mostly due to, with our water and sewer sales are up, but the loss is due to like impact fees. We're not seeing as much impact and connection fees at this time. And the interest, we're receiving less interest at this time because of the leveling of out of interest rates and a lower balance. And then also property tax. We'll receive that at the end of the year. And then also we'll probably see water sales curve up during the next couple quarters.
So, yeah, this was concerning. We haven't seen this in a while. I mean, this isn't unusual for water. I know in the Jordan Valley meetings, first quarter is always when expenses are the same, but water sales are low.
Right.
Right? And then generally expenses stay pretty similar and water sales bump up for summer. And then they come back down a little bit, but then you get property tax towards the end of the year. So I wanted to make sure that the board understood, because you probably haven't seen a quarter with a loss for a while.
Right.
And that's because we have collected historically over long term, our impact fees the past couple of years have been quite elevated because of all the development. So you wouldn't have seen a loss last year or the year before at any point, most likely, because those impact fees were coming in and they were kind of, you just don't see it when there's that kind of income. But I will say that on the positive side, like Mandy highlighted, our revenues are higher on our sales. So we should be in good shape from a sales standpoint. We're also under budget on all of our expenses. So expenses aren't exceeding budget, it's just that we haven't had revenue as high on the collections of impact fees and connection fees. So I wanted to make sure the board understood that. So when I asked Leisle and Mandy, they felt like we should be net positive by the end of the year. Our revenue should exceed our expenses still, even with this first quarter showing as it is. Which is ultimately what we need to make sure that that happens.
Yeah.
And then for the graph for the revenue budget versus actual, this chart is just showing that we're actually 12% higher than 2024 and higher than budgeted as well. And then I think Leah wanted to also express that we will see that curve in the summer months, the second and third quarter on that. And then the expenses budget versus actual, we're under budget for the 2025 on the spending, like Clint said. But we have spent 6% more this first quarter than we did last year at the same time. This also includes non-cash items as well, so like our depreciation.
Okay.
And then our projects chart, this just shows that we have $2,420,500 $420,544 towards projects this year. And those are not included in the expense chart as well.
Okay.
And then our graph for restricted funds shows that the district has $15,179,816 in restricted cash in the bank. This is broken down into the types of restriction for the cash. So restricted cash for bonding, restricted for impact fees, and then restricted cash for any other types of cash for like our post-employment benefits and cash bonds, developers, from the developers. And then our restricted and non-restricted funds, the total is $769,360 in the bank. So that takes into account the restricted, and that leaves the $14,589,544 in non-restricted funds to be used on other projects, O&M costs. And then just to compare from last year at the same time at the end of March, the district did have $41,500,000 in reserves, which part of that was 17 million in restricted and 24 million in unrestricted. So it did go down, but part of that is for the $12 million for the property purchase.
Okay.
So, and the net decrease in payables, this shows that it's payables from the end of the first of the year to the end of March. It decreased by $766,000. Some of this is reflected in our expense chart, but the bond payment of $221,047, the development of $28,984, and then retainage payable of $106,176, and those are not reflected in the expense chart. So then all this is here very detailed into our budget and actual. So if you have any questions, please let us know.
Okay.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Can I report on a project that Lay Isle and I have been doing? So as the board directed last year, Lay Isle and I have been working with Lieutenant Governor's office to change your election cycle from, excuse me, the municipal elections in odd years to even year elections. We got the final approval letter from the Lieutenant Governor's office on Tuesday. So I just wanted to report back on that.
Fantastic.
So election will be next November, a year from, okay.
Well, so that does, we were wanting a little bit of direction from the board. You know, typically it's around this time, maybe a little bit sooner, that we would announce that candidate vacancy is available in June. With this going into effect, that same announcement wouldn't happen until January, right?
Yes, and so.
Next year. So does the board want us to communicate, hey, this cycle, do we want to do something now, since people may think it's coming up?
Yeah, to let them know.
To let them know, hey, we're changing,
I think that would be good.
and plan on that in January of next year. Does that sound?
I would recommend that.
Okay.
Because I don't want someone to show up
Right.
and say, well, I'm ready to run, and be surprised by that. There is another change that the legislature passed. We haven't had to discuss because we weren't doing an election this year. But remember that conflict of interest disclosure that you did? They passed a bill this session, goes into effect yesterday, that requires anybody who files a declaration of candidacy for any local government position that's elected to fill out that same form. And it requires Lay Isle, as your filing officer, to reject any declaration of candidacy that they file unless they have a completed statement of conflicts. And we also have to post that statement to our website. So my thought is, in addition to saying, hey, we've moved the election, here's the approval letter we just got it, and we'll be holding it in 2026, here are the new requirements. And we will be issuing a what's gonna change and what's gonna be, we're gonna have to do some education on this is the declaration of candidacy period will be filed in January, even though the next election won't be until November. So we need to do some education there. My concern is I don't want someone with all these changes to come in and feel disenfranchised because they weren't aware of the new time or that they didn't know that they had, I don't want someone to come in on the last day of the filing period in January and have Leal go, oh, here's this 6-page form that you have to fill out with all this detailed information that's gonna take you at least an hour or more, and then have them say, well, I didn't know I had to do this.
So maybe it sounds like from that, we let them know what's changed now, kind of generally, and then maybe in the fall, in the appropriate time before that, that we would typically announce that notice. Do 2 times?
My thought is, yeah, we do it 2 times, but I'd issue everything together. I'd be like, maybe some sort of press release or something that says, election changes in Magna. First, we are moving the election to the even years. Here's the approval from the governor. Please also be advised that this is when we'll be doing the declaration of candidacy pursuant to these statutes, and the legislature is now requiring this conflict of interest.
I like that.
And then we redo that again when we get closer to it.
Absolutely. So we'll notify twice, but we're gonna, both times we'll include everything that's required. That's a good
Yeah.
idea.
That's a good idea.
No
So you have, if you're running for the board, you got to file in January next year?
Yeah, so that's, the difference is right now you're on the municipal election section, election cycle, and those declarations of candidacy are basically filed in the first week of June. Now, when we're moving to 2026, that's what's called the regular election. That's when the legislators are elected, and they move their declaration of candidacy filing before the legislative session. My cynical view is so that people couldn't get mad at them during the session and then decide to run against them. So it's a much earlier, people have to know and make a decision beforehand. And one thing, if I recall, under this new bill, if you've already filled out one of these declarations, you don't need to, but we will have to post the declarations on the Magna Water website for the duration of the election period. And so what that means for districts that are doing it this year, it would just be for June until November. For you guys, it's gonna almost be the entire year.
January till.
So it's for filing for this coming election, it's the 2nd through the 6th, right, of June?
Yeah. But that won't be your filing
Well,
period.
no,
now.
yeah, but for the city stuff.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
That's great, Nathan.
Thank you.
Anything, Mandy, else? We're good? Nope. Okay. Okay, Andrew, let's move on to the HR report.
All right, thank you, Board and Chair. So just want to update you on a few things. We've got a lot of training and safety things going on right now. Last month we wrapped up the driving safety. We had the Utah Highway Patrol come out and do a training for us. I think he did a great job of presenting, and then at the end he had a steering wheel and some gas pedals and a simulator, and we got a couple of the guys to go up there and do some distracted driving, try to take a test on their phone while they drove. And we could see them. It was cool. They had it set up so they were driving through Salt Lake down to Spanish Fork, and so it was real streets, and they were running into cars and they were running stoplights. One of them was doing like 95 for a good portion of the drive because he had too much to focus on to notice his speed. So I think the guys had a lot of fun with that.
That's pretty neat.
It also tells our flag people how vulnerable they are.
Yeah.
To people being distracted. You'll get run into.
Exactly. As we talked about some things this week, that was something that Chris brought up to his crew was, if they're not making eye contact with you, just assume they're gonna hit you. So always make eye contact. So,
Did we get our portable barricades so that we can fill them with water? Gives a deterrent.
So kind of where we're at with that is, it's almost more of a liability if we don't have them set up properly. So we kind of decided that it'd be best whenever we have a job that requires them, that we just get like Utah Barricade to come set everything.
and they do it so cheap that it'll
They
probably be
pick it
cheaper in the
up
long
and
run.
then they
Yeah,
come
they
get it.
pick it up, but it also takes a lot of the liability off of us too.
Sure.
Then when we're done, they come get it and we're,
Yep.
okay.
some of the other things we got going, we just had an employee attend OSHA 10. We're scheduling some more for that. Got one of our supervisors attending OSHA 30 right now. We're getting the new employees, our 3 newest employees, flagger trained end of the month. We've got several of our employees taking traffic control technician classes so that they can be certified in that. And then from there, we'll have some traffic control supervisors as well.
Who gives that training?
We're doing that through LTAP, through Utah State.
Is it an online thing we do?
No, we're sending them over. South Salt Lake is hosting it, and so we're sending them over to that. The state only has so many people, so many instructors that they certify as able to do this. We're doing some trench training next month with everybody that's involved in the trenching. Dallas and Steve and myself are gonna direct that, and we're gonna go out and dig a hole and help them set up trench boxes and make sure everybody understands how to do that. We're gonna bring the backhoe training in-house. We had been sending them to Wheeler. Wheeler no longer has an instructor. So Steve volunteered his expertise along with Justin and Chris to bring that in-house. And once we get that going, we'll have a certification process where they're certified here at the district.
Oh, great, I like that.
So I've took that class from Wheeler, and it's a pretty broad general class.
Right.
I think bringing it in-house, we can kind of focus
Be
more on
detailed.
what we actually do.
Good idea.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Be better in the long
I
run.
think you'll do better here.
Yep.
So we're probably gonna do it staged. They'll have a stage 1 certificate and then a more advanced certificate too. And they're planning on doing that as well with the Mini X.
You gotta add the one where you get the egg and you gotta put it. That's the hardest one in the whole world.
We used to, when we were all just in this metal shop over here, getting ready for close up at night or whatever, we'd take like a pencil to the tooth of the bucket, try and write your name with it on the concrete and stuff like that. Just little stuff like that playing around at the end of the day. But it helps, it makes you good, so.
My dad conned me into going to the Rasmussen Equipment rodeo or fair or whatever it was. And I remember they had a piece of pipe welded to a tooth on a bucket, and you were supposed to dip the water out, and then you're supposed to pour it in, and whoever got the most water in there, first thing, he kept saying, you go ahead, you're pretty good, you can do that, I went over and I hit down and water splashed on everybody. I don't think I wanna do this. I was so nervous.
But we're pretty excited about all the things that we've got going on.
Impressive.
Then one other thing to highlight is Dallas's newest operator just completed his CDL training, and so we're pretty excited about that. That was in 4 months.
Yeah, he did
So,
great.
did awesome.
Now, who's that, Dallas, your
That's
newest?
Quinn.
Oh, okay.
So
Oh,
How
okay.
many guys do we have that have CDLs? Do we have quite a few?
I think we're only missing the 2 brand new guys.
yeah.
So all your
Everybody
people
else
are
done?
all, oh, that's pretty impressive.
And then the last thing to update you on, the last thing as far as that stuff goes to update you on is it's Mental Health Awareness Month. So we're doing some trainings on mental health this week. We've been around to everybody and talked about the EAP and what's available for them through those services.
I like that.
So, and then the next thing I have for you is we've briefly discussed the possibility of if it would be beneficial for the district to have our meter crew move to a smaller truck. So I've got some numbers for you to think about. If it's something we decide we want to bring back, we can bring it back next
You
month.
got what, 3 meter trucks, right?
So we have the 3-meter trucks and possibly Mascogabo's the Leeds truck as well. And then possibly Dallas's treatment lead truck.
Would go to a smaller, and really, I think it'd be cost savings, for us to do that. Can we make any money off these trucks we have?
So currently, right now, this is preliminary numbers with no negotiations.
Can you discuss that here?
Well, I mean, this isn't a purchase of real estate or
Right, right, right.
property, so, yes.
Okay.
And you can discuss anything. You can discuss anything you want here. It's just there are only certain things we can discuss in closed.
Okay, okay.
So the smaller truck, the price with the state contract is $39,870. Then there's a $299 dock fee, so you're talking $40,169 total. With one of the trucks that we had down there that they evaluated, it's probably our highest mileage truck, wouldn't you think, JJ's?
Gotta be close.
They offered a trade-in allowance of $41,000, so we'd come out $826 a head there. The shortfall comes that we still owe $41,743 on that vehicle, which equates to $82 that we'd be ahead on that.
But you know what, you tell them, give us what we owe on it for the payoff and we'll do the
Yeah,
deal.
and we can-
That's what we did with with Raymond's Equinox and that new truck, is we said, no, you know what, you tell them, you give us, because we've drove the truck, so when you stop and think about it, that ain't a bad deal.
So with these numbers in mind, that would leave us owing, basically going from $41,743 for the truck that we currently have to going to the new truck, we would owe $41,662.
Okay.
So is that something the board wants to hear more on next month?
Yeah, I mean, so we got,
We can look a little bit more into the fuel savings and things like that, as well as,
well, when I stop and think about it, I think, why did we even buy them big trucks with the meter readers and that, you know? I mean, that was
They
just,
don't haul anything or
I
anything.
mean, just,
Getting in and
so will
out is
this,
gonna be a lot
this,
easier.
They have to use different keys, right?
they'd have to get if they're gonna do the big mainline valves, they'd have to have a foldable key like what Steve's getting.
Yeah, I think that we just do some like we've already built.
so is them trucks same as Steve's?
Yes, well, I think they're a model year newer, and they have a different, seat. The cloth seat, not a,
Okay, did we go ahead and order some?
we're gonna get on those,
I've actually got
you got them going?
Okay,
well, I haven't got them yet, but I got a bid.
Okay.
okay. Some seat covers.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
So if you wanna hear more on that next month,
Let's move forward on this. Are you okay with that? You okay with that?
okay,
Can we bring back something for approval next month?
yeah,
Tell them, say, give us what we owe for them and they're yours.
okay.
Because that's what they did, because they
Yeah.
kind of bought back and I said, no, tell them, you know what, you want a deal? You give us what we owe.
Yeah, I think they'll work with us on it.
Okay.
That's it for me, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you. Okay, let's move on to our water and sewer availabilities. Trevor?
Thank you, Board and Chair. What we have here is Mountain View Meadows Phase 2. I'll jump over to our GIS and kind of give you an overview. 3,100 south, 8,000 west. Just here in the middle, it's just a single parcel at the end of this existing kind of cul-de-sac. The idea would be to do single family homes in here. The way the road is proposed is has like a T fire lane, fire turnaround that would then allow for, future roadway to come through this, other property next door. So we've, gone through the process of modeling and the fire flow, pressures, and everything checks well, and recommend approval of this development.
No, maybe it's not.
I don't think it is.
No, it's not. It's not. I'm sorry. Okay.
So they're only gonna put a single home on it?
Well, there's single-family homes, I believe is it 5 or 6, if I jump to this sheet, yeah, 6 single-family lots within that area.
So when they get this done, they'll be able to continue and make a loop?
Yeah, this one's not in for development right now, but the way the road is set up, it's like a T fire truck turnaround, and that ends at this side of
So
the
the T will
property.
be a dead end right now.
Correct.
and Future,
Yeah.
so we'll stub, we'll stub.
Yeah, water will go to those with fire hydrants, so it could easily be extended and.
It's right behind Danny.
Is it?
Yeah, it's right above him. Wonder if that didn't, okay. Okay, does someone want to, we have the motion on this, right?
Yep.
Okay,
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve the Mountain View Meadows Phase 2 located at 3223 South, 7900 West.
I'll second that.
it's been motion second, all in favor? Aye.
Thank you. You wanna
Oh,
set
yeah,
up the next one?
yeah, go ahead, I'm sorry, I thought you were gonna take it.
Okay, yeah. So project awards, first one on here is IGES. Geotechnical investigation, this is to go with the West Side Collection Project number 2. So that runs, project number 2 runs, I think there wasn't an exhibit in there, but I can pull this up and just give you a refresher. So project 1 ends at this park and ride here. Project 2 is gonna head west, kind of align with our existing sewer. And the geotechnical investigation would be, we've got a crossing of 8,000, and the C7 ditch is directly parallel to 8,000, so we're crossing that. So some bores for that crossing. Here, the Ritter Canal kind of meets up, goes under the freeway there. So there's some investigation in that area as well. And then as you move over here to 84, we've got another investigation there. We feel that this is really important to the project and making sure we have the correct design and how we cross those.
So they can determine if there's surface water and all that other stuff.
Yep, soil conditions, anything that we need to prepare for in our design.
This will be a critical, probably a pretty complicated section.
Yes, I think, yeah, overall, you know, with the groundwater, the soil conditions, the different crossings we have, doing this work up front is gonna be very beneficial to us.
So if they find out that there's water seeping from a canal or whatever, are we expected to pay for that extra cost if the canal is causing,
Like water into the trench, or,
yeah, well, like it's softening the area and you've got all extra fill and all kinds of stuff? Are we paying for that, or should the canal company be responsible? for
yeah, I
something?
mean, it's a fair question, but I think it would fall within our project to stabilize our sewer line and, you know, how we need to, unfortunately.
I can address that if you want. So the concern is you've got an existing canal and we're doing a project that's changing the circumstances. So the canal owners have a responsibility to maintain their canals in such a way that they don't damage other people's property. But if the canal is being operated properly and it's just natural seepage or just the way it is, and it's on us to make sure our project isn't impacted by how the canal normally operates. Now, if they don't maintain it and it fails and it floods our property, then that's on them.
Yeah.
Well, I'm more worried about like where it crosses under the road, sometimes there'll be some retention there, and that retention can make it seep in. And I just wondered if we have to call them on that and say, you know, you gotta keep this flow going, and that way it minimizes retention and minimizes surface water from going all over the place.
I don't think we have any right to tell them how to manage their canal, I mean, to maintain a certain amount of water in the canal.
No, I meant if it's being retained because it's not being cleaned out properly.
Oh, I see. So if they're not maintaining it, yeah, then we might have an
Right.
argument there, but.
In fact,
I think
creates
we include that in the inspection.
an issue, yeah. Yeah, so that would be part of our site investigations and discussions with them.
Okay.
But anyways, I've gone through their task order. It's all, looks good from my perspective. Like I said, necessary for our project design, and I recommend approval.
Okay.
You have any
So,
questions?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve IGS geotechnical investigation task order for the West Side Collection Project 2 in the amount of $34,800.
I'll second that.
Been motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Hey, Andrew.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. What we have is the last couple months, we've been testing out the digital inspection with Verizon. We've had me and Steve and Dallas and Trevor and a couple of the supervisors using it. And we're quite impressed with how seamless it is and how instant the data is for us. It allows the managers to see exactly what's going on with their fleet immediately. And if there is any problems, it will alert them so that we can get the fleet taken care of right then and there. It also is gonna come at quite a cost savings. I estimate we used about 2.5 orders of the inspection sheets this last year, and we're spending about $650 for a box of them. So if you go off that, that's about $1,625 a year that we're spending on inspection sheets. And with this move over, we'd be spending about $540 a year on the vehicle inspections.
So does this notify the guys if they haven't filled out their form?
So they're headed that way. This is early in the development process. They told me by summer it's gonna notify the managers that the vehicle has moved so many feet without having an inspection form filled out. But this as well, the managers can pull up, say at 8 o'clock in the morning, and see every single inspection sheet that was filled out for their fleet and review each one of them.
How do we log this digitally?
Yes, it's all digital. Verizon does it, and
So
it's right there. And the other
how
thing,
do we have control of the logs, the backup logs?
the backup logs,
Yeah.
they're just stored on Verizon's cloud.
Okay, do we have any way to ensure that they're safe? Because I think we have to save them for a year. don't we?
Yeah, and they're guaranteeing that they're there, and they're also have them so that the DOT logs are available and that they'll pass if they ever get checked for those. The other thing that is nice with them is not only can the managers go and see that, but when the employee pulls it up on their phone, they can see the previous inspection done, whether it was them or not.
That makes it a lot easier.
And so
A lot easier to
the data will be a lot easier to
Well, the only
track.
my concern about that is if they forget to not do it.
Yeah,
And, you know, even though it'll pull up on their phone, said you went so far without doing your inspection, I mean,
yeah, and I think there's that risk with the paper as well.
but if we're watching
This
that
will-
paperwork all the time, we'll see that.
Well, the paperwork is getting turned in at the end of day to the managers because they aren't coming straight back
How
to the
many,
shop.
how many people, we've got to have some people that ain't doing the pre-ops.
I think they're pretty,
Okay, they're all pretty good on it.
yeah, they're all
Okay.
pretty good on it. I've got
We
two
need to
drawer-
keep, we need to keep making sure these guys are doing that because we've invested a lot of money in
Yeah.
vehicles and we need to make sure
Yeah, I
that
think
they're,
this is just a step, actually will probably, it will even be better.
Yeah,
From would anybody share their experience with it?
One thing that I like about it is, say you do damage the truck or whatever, you can actually take a picture of it and it'll store that, log that
Yeah,
for
that
you.
makes it
I
good.
like
And
that.
each time you do your inspection, until it is actually fixed, it logs that it's still.
Oh, wow. Okay.
felt.
I worry more about if there's a situation that causes damage to the truck that wasn't the driver's fault, he can take a picture and log that also.
yeah.
That makes it.
Okay.
And so the other thing is I think it will be easier for the managers to make sure that they're done first thing in the morning, just because
Okay.
they can pull it up and check.
Another nice thing, like, on mine came due for a oil change. Bob had a few things going, so it was like 2 days before he was able to get to it. Well, it popped up every day, let me know, hey, you need your oil change, you need your oil change, so.
That's cool. Okay. What do you think?
I think it sounds good.
Sounds good.
Okay. Want a motion to approve that?
Oh, okay. Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion for the full transition of paper vehicle daily inspections to electronic inspections with Verizon for $45 a month for all vehicles.
I'll second that.
It's been motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay. Okay, let's, so discussion possibly motion to approve the following administration items: surplus, sale of old pipe.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Chair. Steve's got the majority of this, so I'll have him, he's taking some pictures, and we're just looking for, he'll give the justification and the need, and then we'll just answer any questions from the board.
So what it is kind of gone around to all the different facilities, starting to clean everything up. And pretty much everything that we've got pictures of has a defect, some sort of defect in it that allows us not to use it. But somebody out there might be able to use it for a ditch or driveway crossing or whatever. So we just figured it'd be better to try and sell it to somebody that can use it.
You might want to, if we're offering it, I think Nathan knows about this, I think you have to spray paint on it salvage, so somebody doesn't try to use it in a pressure situation, so we're not liable. Isn't that right, Nathan?
Yeah, well, we'd sell it, we'd want to make the appropriate disclosures of, look, this is a pipe, it's got these issues with it, but, you know, buyer beware, use it as you want.
Yeah.
I mean, so the concern is I don't want someone to buy this and then try to use it for the same applications that we determined it's unsuitable for, and then come back on it. So, I mean, we can include some sort of disclaimer that it's do your own due diligence, here's what's wrong with it.
When Leal does the actual sale and the listing, she can state that.
What is that pipe? Is it steel pipe? It is
Some
so
of it is,
doggone
some
rusty.
ductile, there's a variety of different stuff, but like the ductile, a lot of it, the reason that we can't use it is the lining inside is coming apart.
Yes, or the cement line.
Yes, exactly.
But this
And
is so rusty, that's just mild steel pipe?
Yeah, that's, well casing that's been pulled out and,
Oh, it's been pulled out?
yeah,
Boy,
and,
that's definitely salvage.
yeah, it's nothing we'll ever use again, so.
Yeah, that's pretty bad.
Just trying to get everything cleaned up so it looks a little
And
nicer.
somebody may wanna use it for a culvert or something.
I know the Hardings are always asking me about piping, so I'll have to tell
Yeah,
them.
that was one of the, we did have a call from Canal Company saying, hey, do you have any pipe we could use as culverts for crossings?
Yeah.
So we'll direct them to
So
this.
are we selling this, or are we just giving it away?
It's surplus, so we would put it like we did for the other
Okay,
furniture
okay.
first, and then if we don't, depending on what we sell or not, we could take it to the salvage yard or
Scrap yard.
scrap it.
I think maybe, I'm just saying, you might look at whatever it's made of and see what Western will take it for, just so you have an idea of what the price is, because if somebody comes in and say, oh yeah, I'll get it for $1, if you haul it down the scrap yard, you're gonna get $20 or $30 for it. You need to be careful about that.
20 or 30, and it costs us 50 in gas, so we're,
Well, I'm just saying.
no,
you
I
need
know,
to-
I just,
Salvage, recycled steel has gone up, so.
okay. So we need a motion on that to surplus it.
Okay,
They take it, they just, it's not as high value.
so, Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to, move ahead on the surplus sale of all pipes so we can clean up our areas.
I'll second that.
Been motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, moving on, so, there's any more information discussed, or no actions, anybody have anything? Okay, next meeting is gonna be June 12th at 10 o'clock here. We are
in need of a closed door. Do you want to make a motion at 11:19 for closed?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to take a brief recess and immediately following meet in closed meeting to discuss character, professional competence, physical or mental health of an individual, purchase, exchange, or lease of real property, including any form of water right or water shares, and collective bargaining or purposes pursuant to Utah Code 52-4-204 through 205.
I'll second that.
Been motion second, all in favor?
Aye.